So, now that we've gotten that out of the way, we're going in. We're escorting the miners. We're getting down to business because we've got a lot of things that we need to accomplish, right? So, the Royal Guard kind of escorts us partway there. We kind of split off, and not even a couple miles in, things already start to go sideways, which probably could have seen coming, where one of the veteran workers is talking to like the head veteran union worker dwarf guy, right? On behalf of, all the workers, on behalf of, the workers. And they get to arguing, and, his argument is, why are we unnecessarily putting our lives at risk, going down to deactivate these golems? That's their job. That's the Royal Guard's job. We need to make sure our families are safe, and all this stuff, which valid argument, right? Except for the fact that we don't know really what the fuck's going on down here. We do know that the golems have, at the very least, gone haywire, and according to the survivors who don't want to come back down with us, according to all their testimony, some really horrible shit happened in the form of the Scourge, right? There's like evil shit going on down here, right? So it's like it'd be in everybody's best interest to deactivate the golems, at the very least, but he doesn't give a shit, right? And apparently him and the head union worker, foreman, veteran, dwarf, whatever, have some history with one another, and they're dwarves, so they're stubborn and bullheaded, and that basically divides us, right? Because this other guy and the main portion of the miners that we were escorting, they want to go straight to where their families are, which, again, I can't really blame them, but, whatever, right? So, before we really get anywhere, we're divided. And I understand why he was doing this in the first place, and it's to limit the number of NPCs he has to control. So, which is something that I would do as well, right? So, you don't want to mess around with too many NPCs. Like, fuck that shit. I totally get it. So, we're down to the main union worker dwarf who knows how to deactivate the fail-safe device for the golems, and two other people, some rando dwarf miner guy, and this really young dwarven kid, dwarven boy. You can't really call him a full-fledged dwarf because he's the only dwarf among the entire group of us that went down there who's so young he hasn't even developed a beard yet. I mean, he looks like an adult, but by dwarven standards, he's young. He's like, so if you don't have a beard yet, that should tell you if you know anything about the lifespan of dwarves, because dwarves live over 400 some odd years old, right? Like they live a long time, okay? So if you haven't been around long enough to even grow yourself a goddamn beard yet, as far as, dwarves are concerned, you're fucking young, right? So he shouldn't even really be down here, but he came down anyways, and so I was like, okay, whatever. So we have these three NPCs, right, that we're escorting. And they got weapons of their own, they can handle themselves, but again, they're NPCs, and, it's like, whatever, fuck it. And so we continue on our journey. And it's not too long before we run into our first real fight, which is like with this big group of resurrected zombie Draugr who are roaming around, right? And so, first round of combat, we're up, right? We're all rolling for initiative. I'm going first. I'm right out the bat, right? Yeah. So I'm like, all right, and I do a little drum beat, right, to psych me and my partners up, and I'm like, yeah, we're doing this shit. I'm trying to put buffs on people before I weigh into combat, right? I went out of my way to get a quick draw for one of my feats, because I think I picked like maybe 1 or 2 feats. Allowed me to pick 1 or 2 feats, even at like level 1, so that was cool. Because again, I was new to being a bard. Didn't matter. So I picked quick draw, and I use that to quick draw out my bastard sword, and I go to way into combat, and I'm like, all right, so at this point everybody's like lining up what Draugr they're gonna have. By this point we're kind of surrounded by these fucking Draugr, because even though they're zombies, they're scourge zombies, so they have some amount of intelligence about them, and they can wield weapons and shit. And they've got this whole hive mind thing going on. So there's real bad shit, right? And so I weigh into combat, and I'm like, alright, I'm fucking, I beat on my bongo drums, I fucking, I buff anybody I can, I fucking draw my sword, right? And I run in there, and he's like, alright, roll for me. I roll. I get a 1. A critical fail, right? So, I critically fail. My dwarf, as he's running towards these fuckers with his, the initiative to attack these motherfuckers, I'm running towards 2 of these motherfuckers, trips over a rock. I mean, really, there's like tons of fucking rock in this fucking... It's a mine, right? Trips over a rock, flies forward, lands face down, and skids his stupid ass across the gravel in front of these Draugrs. They both get an attack of opportunity and then proceed to bury their axes into my character's back over and over again until I am dead. Fucking awesome. Oh, shit. It doesn't go too well for everybody else. At least not most of the NPCs.